The shocking moment that Jimmy Savile dropped his trousers in front of WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Frank Bruno. But the shock didn't end there. Poor Frank was actually duped into shaking hands with one of the world's worst ever serial killers, of course, a Yorkshire Ripper. What may be even more shocking to this is that a massive governing body, yes, orchestrated some of this to happen. So sit back and let me explain what happened on Jimmy Savile dropping his trousers to Frank Bruno. Well, Frank Bruno appeared with Michael Aspel on This Is Your Life, and he had some very upright, decent citizens attending as guests, many honourable gentlemen. Evidently, it's factual that some senior executives knew that his seedy, horrendous carryings on with children in the changing areas of the BBC were going on. Apparently, they turned to what they call a blind eye. For me, if you turn to the blind eye to such crimes, you're as bad as the person calls them. You've got to be. If you're behind you, you're parked right behind you. Okay, so there are horrendous things going on, but so it makes me now wonder how much of this was out there for us to see, because, as I said, people come up, act honourably, decent, appear on the show, in the right dress code, sense, etc. Then this horrible, evil paedophile comes on, with 3 months planning, comes on and just drops his trousers, yeah, for the world to see. Okay, yeah, he's got underwear on, but what sort of bloke? All the other gentlemen and ladies got nice dresses on, nice suits on. What sort of twisted minded? Bear in mind, BBC producers, they're behind this. They're behind this. They're the ones saying, right, you're Jimmy Savile, yeah? You've got 3 months, what we're going to go on? We're going to come on and make a remark about your legs, about a running race, a marathon, and you're going to drop your trousers. How distasteful. Who was behind that production to bring on this horrible old paedophile just to drop his trousers? What's funny about it? What's dignified about it as English British people? Of any country really, but what's dignified and what's funny about that? But such behaviours, was it there for me to see, you to see? As I say, lock the old stable door, the horse is bolted, but my God, the BBC, if they were skating thin ice and they bring on this old nonce just to drop his trousers, it makes you wonder, did they know much more? Did they just smooth it over, turn a blind eye that they really know? But to have 3 months to do that, anyway. But even more shockingly, poor Frank was asked to open a gymnasium in Broadmoor psychiatric prison, yeah? And what happens, he goes in there and the vile Jimmy Savile says, oh yeah, come and meet this guy. It's actually quotes this. He's as good as gold, is Peter, meet Frank. So Frank, not knowing who the fuck the Yorkshire Ripper is, just reaches out, shakes his hand, something he really regretted, but he was duped. I mean, if you got introduced by a world celebrity that come and meet my friend, and it was Charles Manson, you wouldn't expect Charles Manson to jump out behind a wall, would you? Shake your hand. Let's be honest about it. Who would want to get near this fella to introduce him? But he also quoted, he's as good as gold, and I can see the good in the guy, and he just acted on impulses. That was his crimes. And it was smoothed over. It's another shocking thing that, can you imagine one of us going in and saying, no, Yorkshire Ripper's not a bad guy really. You say something like, well, if you're chatting to him you didn't know, you wouldn't know. You say something like that, you wouldn't see the other side of it, well, you didn't know it. But you actually know it, what he's done to those poor women, at least 13 girls murdered and killed. And this vile, evil man, who's every bit as sadistic as him, comes up and says he's as good as gold. So surely if a world-leading celebrity said, this guy's as good as gold, and he committed those crimes, surely he should have been sacked on the spot, shouldn't he? You know, if you think about, was it Andy Gray and, I can't remember his sidekick, no, it's Andy Gray and somebody else, they got done for a sexist remark, just saying about a woman linesman who'd done something, you know, should have been home putting the washing on or the cleaning, something along those minor type of things. sacked from their job. But this old paedophile can go out and actually massage the ego of one of our worst ever serial killers. So anyway, I find it actually, at the end of it, it is shocking stuff, isn't it? That the best you can manage to bring on this old pedo to drop his trousers, you allow him to actually, poor Frank was duped into shaking hands, but allow him to say that the Yorkshire Ripper is actually as good as gold and continue with his job. And probably more shockingly of all, yeah, a licence we were paying for, they allowed it and actually encouraged the trouser dropping. How much more did they encourage? Anyway, it's just a bit of history brought to light from one of our boxers there. I only just wished that Frank could really bowl him over. He had a hell of a punch. Only how we wished Frank actually knew that he was meeting the Yorkshire Ripper. If he was allowed to maybe put one on him on the sly. I know he's not an aggressive type of guy out the ring, but I'm sure you can't be a world champion and, you know, you can't be champion of the world if you haven't got some in there. I'm sure he would have loved to have put a sneaky right hand on Peter Sutcliffe and the other old paedophile. Wouldn't it have been lovely if he just knocked him so unconscious cold? Had he known, I know one thing, he certainly wouldn't have been with them both. Would he have swung a sneaky left hook right hand, given the free opportunity? You know he would have done Frank. Frank's a good boy, he always will be, but that evil man and the BBC. Let me know what you think.